This is CBC Television.
Watch the Teddy Awards, the best of the year, this Friday on Good Rockin' Tonight.
Midday with Valerie Pringle and Srebotnjak.
Good afternoon. This is Midday for Thursday, December 21st.
On the program today, bloodbath in Romania. The death toll there is reported to be as high as 4,000, and the borders are still shut tight. We're going to talk to the brother of a dissident priest who's at the center of the turmoil and find out why that country is resisting reform.
And we'll take you to Saskatoon to see the biggest Christmas card in Canada. We'll also meet a Winnipeg radio show host who's doing his bit for Glasnost. He's collected thousands of Christmas greetings from across the country from Mikhail Gorbachev.
And the Rockabilly band, the Razorbacks, are going to be here in our studio to sing a song, and Bob Fournier unravels some of the mysteries of Atlantis. But first, Ian Hanomansing and the Midday News.
Good day from the National Newsroom. Romania this afternoon appears on the brink of anarchy. At the height of the continuing pro-democracy demonstrations today, one Warsaw Pact country, Czechoslovakia, turned on its fellow member and announced it's breaking diplomatic ties with the Romanian regime. The U.S. Embassy in the Romanian capital of Bucharest says at least 19 young demonstrators were killed today. The Yugoslav news agency says at least 20 died. In the cities of Arad and Timișoara, there are reports of executions. Witnesses say police and troops who refused to fire on demonstrators were summarily executed. Hungary's defense minister says the regime in Romania is crumbling, the army falling apart. Romanian President Nicolae Ceausescu was shouted down at a government-organized rally when he claimed Romania's integrity would be defended to the death. The BBC's George Alagaia reports on what went on shortly before today's violence broke out.
Despite official policy to play down the events in Western Romania, this is the second time in less than 24 hours that President Ceausescu has found it necessary to make a public statement.
All the enterprises we have created, the groups in charge of order, were for the defense of socialism, of all we have achieved for independence on behalf of the people.
There are reports that even this rally in Bucharest broke up early after some of the officially prepared banners were destroyed. Evidence that Ceausescu faces more than just local unrest. While Ceausescu was perpetuating the myth in Bucharest, refugees were already fleeing the reality. People arriving at this Yugoslavian border town spoke of continuing unrest and demonstrations in Timișoara and other towns.
Have you seen the demonstrations in Timișoara?
Yeah, there was also this morning. And some, I think 1,000 or more, I don't know. And there was many people, and today they speak that there was in all the town was the general strike.
Comments from these travelers suggest a death toll in the hundreds, though perhaps not as high as the thousands quoted by some East European sources.
Those pictures from today's rally in Romania were supplied by official Romanian television. Romanian Canadians are expressing their outrage at events in Romania by holding a series of protest rallies across Canada today. In Toronto, a moment of silence was observed for those who have been killed. The Romanian Canadians urged Ottawa to break diplomatic ties with the Ceausescu government.
I'd like to commend Right Honourable Joe Clark for his attitude and for strong condemnation of the Ceausescu attitude and actions, but we'd like also to urge the Kenyan government to take even more stronger actions. And these actions, to our mind, should be to cease immediately diplomatic relations with Romania.
As well as the severing of ties, the Congress called on Ottawa to stop all trade with Romania at once. In Panama, American soldiers are moving through the streets of the capital, looking for troops who are still loyal to General Manuel Noriega. And the fighting continues. The sounds of rockets, artillery, and machine gun fire can be heard sporadically in Panama City. Noriega is still in hiding, but he has been heard from in a tape-recorded message on radio. He appealed to Panamanians and to the international community for support against the U.S. attack. David Adams reports from Panama City.
American troops do control strategic parts of the capital. There is no sign of General Noriega's Panama Defense Forces. But no one seems to be fully in charge. The Americans have not been able to stop armed civilians loyal to General Noriega from walking the streets freely. Instead, a state of anarchy is prevailing in many commercial districts of the city. Whole streets of shops have been looted. Many cars have been stolen. And there is still no confirmation on the whereabouts of General Noriega. It is now believed that he is in hiding in a province of the country that borders with Costa Rica. General Noriega spoke very briefly last night on the government Voice of the Resistance radio station.
We must resist and advance towards our goal. We ask the world to help us. We ask the countries to help us materially with everything: men, dignity, forces.
Soon after he spoke, the government radio station went off the air following an attack on its office by American troops and a helicopter gunship. The building was left in flames as an explosion ripped into its side. For CBC News, this is David Adams in Panama City.
At least 19 American servicemen have been killed in Panama. At a news conference just a short while ago, President George Bush said his heart goes out to their families. But Bush expressed satisfaction with the military operation. He said the fighting is almost over, but didn't say when American forces could leave Panama.
This operation is not over, but it's pretty well wrapped up. And we've moved aggressively to neutralize the PDF, to provide a stable environment for the freely elected Indira government. We will keep whatever number of forces is necessary there until our military are satisfied and recommend to the president that they be withdrawn. I want them out of there as soon as possible.
Bush's speech was carried live by the American television networks. As he spoke, those networks showed pictures of the first of the American casualties coming home. The bodies of 4 Navy men killed during the fighting were flown to Dover Air Force Base in Delaware. American troops in Panama have found 11 of the 18 hostages being held by the Panamanian Defense Forces. The U.S. military is making arrangements to pick them up and take them to safety. The 11 hostages had been doing marine research off the coast of Panama when they were captured by the PDF. There is no word on the fate of the remaining hostages. The Hungarian Parliament has decided to dissolve itself next March. Today's decision paves the way for the first fully free elections in the East Bloc for over 40 years. The ruling Socialist Party will stand against the old Communists and a number of Western-type democratic parties. 4 South Americans who plan to help 2 Colombian drug smugglers escape from a New Brunswick jail have each been sentenced to 10 years in prison. The 4 appeared in court in the town of Burton after pleading guilty of plotting the jailbreak. They were arrested after being caught with an arsenal of arms. A 5th man has pleaded not guilty. A trial date for him will be set next month. The Bank of Canada rate is up slightly at its weekly setting this afternoon. It now stands at 12.47%, up from 12.44 last week. The Supreme Court of Canada has refused to allow an American Indian activist to appeal a deportation order against him. Robert Satiacum is wanted in the United States on racketeering charges. Canadian immigration officials are now looking for him, and a Vancouver court has issued a warrant for Satiacum's arrest. He was convicted of fondling a 10-year-old girl, but failed to show up for sentencing. Prime Minister Brian Mulroney's chief of staff has been called to testify at the budget leak trial in Ottawa. Stanley Hart was subpoenaed by defense lawyers. The case involves journalist Doug Small and 2 other men who were charged after information about the federal budget was leaked last April. 1 year ago today, a Pan Am plane filled with holiday travelers disintegrated in midair over Lockerbie, Scotland. A bomb was found to be the cause of the crash, but investigators still haven't been able to piece together enough evidence to lay charges. Thousands of people are gathering in Lockerbie today for a memorial service. Janice Neal reports.
1 year ago tonight, Pan Am Flight 103 en route to New York fell out of the sky. A bomb blew the plane apart at 10,000 meters. The stewards aboard had likely just started serving drinks before dinner. All of the passengers and crew were killed, 259 victims. The bomb was Semtex, an odorless, colorless material similar to putty. Airport X-ray machines can't spot the substance. It was believed the bomb was hidden inside the shell of a radio cassette recorder, which was packed inside a suitcase. When it exploded, the flaming chunks of the plane rained down on the small town of Lockerbie, just north of the border between England and Scotland. The fuselage, 2 engines and a wing landed on Sherwood Crescent. 11 people who lived there were killed, although most of their bodies have never been found. There were pieces of melted metal, passengers' belongings and bodies scattered over an area half the size of Prince Edward Island. Almost every day since then, the 3,500 residents have had to grieve for those neighbors they lost, for the occupation of their town by investigators and journalists, and for being catapulted into the center of international terrorism.
There's more community awareness now than there ever was before. Groups are tackling different problems and cooperating within the group and one group with another. It is a different place.
Last year, store owners discreetly removed the Christmas decorations after the tragedy. This year, they're trying to bring back the holiday spirit. It's a vibrant symbol of the sturdy Scottish town that has recovered from a tragedy shared by people around the world. Janice Neal for CBC News, London.
And that's the news at this hour. For CBC News, I'm Ian Hanomansing.
Welcome back. We're going to be seeing more of that in a minute. It's a street scene from Dickens' A Christmas Carol, and it's in Saskatoon, of course. Where else? And we'll meet the man who created it.
And a Christmas cards for Gorbachev in Winnipeg. Disc jockey Laurie Mustard has invited Canadians to join him in sending Christmas greetings to the Soviet leader in support for him. We'll talk to him before he leaves with his bag full of cards for the Soviet ambassador in Ottawa. Bob Fournier takes us on an archaeological dig. But first, Romania's state of emergency.
Shocking reports of a bloodbath continue to come out of Romania. It's estimated that almost 4,000 people have been killed by government troops there. This follows days of protest by ethnic Hungarians and other groups who are demonstrating against the Stalinist rule of President Nicolae Ceausescu.
Stephan Tőkés' brother is a dissident priest in Romania whose arrest last week led to the fighting, and he is with us now from Montreal. And Mr. Tőkés, what have you heard from your brother?
Tonight at 2 o'clock I called as usual my parents, and surprised I managed to talk to my parents, and they told me that my brother and his wife called them, and they are apparently in a village not far from Cluj in Transylvania.
And they're alive, you know that much?
They are alive definitely because they talked to my parents.
Well, because you had feared that they were dead, and there were some reports that he had been assassinated.
Yes, yesterday we had 2 news. One was worse than the other one. One is being assassinated, the other one being in a camp, a military camp, being tortured with his arm broken.
Well, you don't know that they aren't being held in a camp, though. All you know is that they were on the end of a phone to talk to your mother.
Exactly, so it's very probable that he's in a prison or in a camp anyway.
But he wouldn't say that to your mother?
No, and even my father, when he spoke to me, he seemed rather funny, as being under control or something. So it was funny, really.
So you didn't feel that you were getting the whole story, that certainly what your brother said was being censored to your parents, and what your parents were saying was being censored to you?
Definitely, and it's very surprising that after 3 months of complete silence, they let them speak, and they let them speak about a story about a village where apparently he's being deported.
Now, what did he say about the village? Was there any report about the massacre or arrests or what had happened?
No, they didn't talk about that, and I did not ask any questions about that. This village where they were talking about, it's a village where he was supposed to go when he was supposed to quit Timișoara.
Mm-hmm. What do you make of this? How do you understand the intelligence that you've been able to get?
I think the Romanian government is very nervous and anxious to not let people believe in the West that he's being assassinated or he's being tortured, whatever. So they want to paint a nicer picture about the situation.
Well, tell me about your brother and what a figure he is in Romania.
He is a fantastic character. He's a very calm, very diplomatic, and very great believer. And he worked not only for his congregation, but for the whole Timișoara population. He kept contact with the Romanian priest and Serbian and Jewish. So he was an ecumenical minister.